Hare Krishna. Let us start with this prayer. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome back to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. We have been talking about the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita for last few weeks. And here we have till now we have covered from verse number 1 to verse number 19, and we'll be starting from verse number 20 today. So the chapter name of the chapter is Sankhya Yoga, or in English, Prabhupada has translated that to Contents of the Gita Summarized. And in last week's session, we were looking at the difference between the body and the soul. So we understood in last week's session that we are we are a spirit soul, and we are staying in this material body. And this material body is made up of gross body and subtle body. So gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. We saw the mind has a different role as compared to intelligence and the false ego. So mind has the function of thinking, have feelings, and then willing, the desires that come from mind. Whereas intelligence, the role of intelligence is discrimination, what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do, like that. Then making the decision and having some determination to do something. And false ego is the one which binds the spirit soul to the material body, and it gives the identity that I am actually this body. So this is false ego. But our real self is not even gross body or subtle body. Our real self is the spiritual self, which is the spirit soul. And the spirit soul has three most important main qualities, which are Sat, Chit, and Ananda. The spirit soul is eternal, it is full of knowledge, and it is full of bliss. So what is the importance of understanding that we are not this body, but we are spirit soul? The most important part is then we can actually start doing some activity which are beneficial for the soul. Because till the time we do not understand that we are not this body and we are spirit soul, we will keep doing all activities related to body only. We will not do anything related to the spirit soul. But once we understand that we are not this body, but the spirit soul, at least we will start doing some activities which are related to spirit soul and which are beneficial to the soul. And we looked at the example of the parrot in the cage, that not only we should actually look after the cage, but we should also look after the parrot which is sitting in the cage. And the wise person who understands the difference between this body and the soul, and understand that the body is temporary and sooner or later it is going to go away. And such a person then do not lament for that body. And they have to tolerate the inconveniences, just like the summer and the winter season that comes. It comes and goes. And Lord Krishna says that the person, a wise person who is able to tolerate such things, is eligible for liberation, is eligible for self-realization. And how can we tolerate these dualities in life? So we saw that there are two things which are required to tolerate. One, we have to have a higher goal. If we have a higher goal in life, like self-realization, then it is possible to tolerate the inconveniences which are coming from the body. And the second thing that we should understand for tolerating is that these ups and downs which are in our life, the heat and cold, or happiness and distress, these are temporary. Just like the summer and winter season are temporary, similarly, these ups and downs in our life are also going to be temporary. And then last week we also saw various different qualities of the soul. that the soul is eternal, it is individual, it is unchangeable. Then it transmigrates from one body to another. It is situated within the region of the heart. It is immeasurable. It cannot be slain, or it cannot be a slayer. So that is where we had stopped, and we are going to start from verse number 20. A beautiful verse, 2.20. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयात् अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Who wants to read the translation for this? Yes, go ahead, Dimple Mataji. And the next one, Pamendra Prabhu, you can.
For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Hare Krishna.
So it is mentioned about various different characteristics of the soul, some further characteristics. So the soul is na jayate mriyate va kadachin. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. So the soul is eternal. And it is said that soul is not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. So this is a little bit inconceivable for us to understand. And that is another quality, which is soul is inconceivable. And we will see in the next few verses, it is mentioned that soul is inconceivable. We cannot conceive from our mind. It is beyond the power of our mind to understand the qualities of soul. And soul is unborn. It is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. But the body is not like that. Body is opposite. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the body goes through 6 kind of transformations. And what are the 6 kind of transformation? First, it takes birth. So it takes the birth from the womb of the mother's body. Then after taking birth, it starts growing. After that, it remains for some time, so it matures. Fourth is, it actually produces some byproducts, like it produces some effects, like children are born. And the fifth one is, then it starts gradually dwindling down. And the sixth is, finally, it vanishes, like it dies. So these 6 changes keep happening in the material body. It takes birth, it grows, it remains for some time, then it produces offspring, it gradually dwindles, and then it dies. But the soul is not like that. Soul is unchangeable. Is not born, it doesn't die. And all of these things actually doesn't affect the spirit soul. So again, there is a difference between the spirit soul and body is mentioned. Now let us look at the next verse. 21st verse. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katham sa purusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Yes, Pamendra Prabhu, please go ahead.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill?
So here, Lord Shri Krishna is again trying to address this concern of Arjuna, that he is going to kill his relatives, friends, family members, which are standing in front of him. So Lord Krishna is saying that, oh Partha, how can a person who knows that soul is indestructible? You know now, I have explained to you that soul is eternal, body is temporary. So how can you think that the soul, which is eternal and indestructible, can be killed by you? So no one can kill the soul, and no one can cause anyone to kill a soul. So someone will say, oh, that is a good thing then. The soul is indestructible, so I can kill anyone. For example, I can kill animals and then eat them, or I can kill other people, because Krishna is saying that soul cannot be slain and it cannot be a slayer. The soul is not a killer and soul cannot be killed. So that way, I am actually free from all the reactions. But that is why Srila Prabhupada has written a beautiful purport to explain this concept. So it is Srila Prabhupada starts saying that everything has its proper utility. And a man who is situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. Similarly, violence also has its utility. So, a person who is in knowledge, they understand properly how to use everything in Krishna's service. So, simple example, a knife can be used for a surgical operation by a doctor, and that will cause a person to get cured from some disease. So, the surgical knife is protecting a person. In fact, the person is in a poor situation, he is in disease condition, but the doctor is actually helping the knife to not only protect, but to also improve his situation. But the same knife, if it is in the wrong hands, like a person who is a criminal, then the same knife can kill someone. So it is not the knife which is a problem, but a person who's using the knife and what is the consciousness of that person, how the person is using it can create a problem. Similarly, violence as well, if it is used properly, then it has its utility. And we saw this example some weeks ago that a policeman or a judge, sometimes they have to be violent. If the policeman says that I'm non-violent, then that is a problem because they have to actually apply some violence towards the criminal. They have to catch them, they have to put them into the jail. If they try to run away, they have to restrict them and they have to keep them there, confined. So that is how some violence is required to put law and order. Similarly, in case of Arjuna, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. His job is to protect other people, and his job is to establish the principles of religion. And for that, if he has to fight and while doing the duty properly, if he is actually have to kill someone as part of the war, then it has the utility. So this is what Lord Krishna is trying to say. So how is this different from terrorists? Like sometimes terrorists also claim that, oh, we have the scriptures are saying, our scriptures are saying that we can kill for God. So how is this different from Krishna's reasoning given to Arjuna and the terrorists claiming that we are also killing for God? Let us look at some quick differences, and then it can be very clear that these two are completely different things that we are talking about. So a Kshatriya killing someone and a terrorist killing someone, how is that different? First one, actually Kshatriya is protecting someone. So Kshatriya, this name itself is coming from protecting from harm. Kshatriya means a person who's protecting other people from harm. So his role is to protect, whereas terrorist role is to actually destroy everything. So that is how they are different. The Kshatriya is doing it out of duty and out of love to protect other people, whereas the terrorism is happening out of hatred for other people. Kshatriyas are generally in mode of passion. They want to do something in the passion, in a Rajoguna, whereas the terrorists are in mode of ignorance. They are in Tamoguna. Kshatriya knows how to apply the religious principle, whereas terrorists do not know how to apply religious principles. Kshatriyas are courageous, they fight face to face. But whereas terrorists are cowardly and they attack innocent people. Kshatriya is violence used properly, just like the knife example that we saw, the knife used by a surgeon properly. Similarly, the violence is used properly by Kshatriya to maintain law and order and peace. Whereas terrorists are using violence to actually break that law and order, and they create chaos everywhere. So this is how we can actually, if we have the concept clear in our mind, we can actually easily differentiate between how the Kshatriyas are behaving as compared to how the terrorists are behaving. Is that making sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, good. So let us move on. So what we can learn from this, the first thing that we can learn is the person in knowledge knows how and where to apply everything for its proper utility. So we should be that person in knowledge. We should try to see how everything can be utilized in Lord Krishna's service. Whatever skills we have, whatever possessions we have, whatever situation that we are in, we should try to see how I can be Krishna conscious in this situation. How can I utilize the positions that I have? How can I utilize the skills that I have in Krishna's service? For example, when we are not Krishna conscious and we see some flowers, then we will just pluck the flower, take the smell, and we will think that, oh, this is for my own enjoyment. But as soon as we get into Krishna consciousness, as soon as we see flowers, then we say that, oh, how can I apply? How can I use this in Krishna's service? How can I offer it on some festival days? For example, tomorrow is Balram Purnima. So it is appearance day of Lord Balram, as well as Jhulan Yatra is going on for 5 days. And tomorrow is the last day of Jhulan Yatra. So where Lord Shri Radha and Sham Sundar, they will be swinging, they will be enjoying on the swing. It's called a swing festival. So there will be lots of flowers required. So we'll be always looking for, okay, where can we get flowers so that we can utilize it in Krishna's service. So this is how the consciousness changes. And we can actually use everything in Lord Krishna's service. So this is how we can actually progress in our process of bhakti by utilizing whatever we have, whatever positions, whatever skills we have in Krishna's service. Let us move on to the next verse. So verse number 22. Vansansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani ghrannati naroparani yat tatha sharirani vihaya jirnan anyani sanyati navani dehi. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhu, please go ahead.
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Person puts on new garments, giving up old ones. The soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Yeah, so this is a very wonderful analogy which Lord Krishna is giving. And what Lord is saying is just like a person has old shirt, and after using the old shirt for many months, like the shirt gets like the garments that person is using, after many months of use, then it will become old, and we have to actually give it away, give it up. And at that time, we have to buy a new shirt and put on a new shirt. So at that time, we become happy that my old shirt is gone and I have got a new shirt. So similarly, from the perspective of this person who's undergoing this change of body, they are giving the old and useless bodies, which may be diseased, which may have less function, and the energy and everything is gone away from slowly in the old age. And they are going to get into a new body which is fresh, it is youthful. And that is how it is actually, even if the person is actually moving from one body to another, it is a joyous thing, just like we get a shirt, a new shirt. Of course, the best thing is not to move from one body to another. The best is to actually go back to our spiritual original body. We should finish this karma account in this lifetime and not have any further material desires. And then at the end of life, as Krishna explains in the 8th chapter, when we go to the 8th chapter, we will see we have to remember Krishna at the time of death. And if we remember Krishna at the time of death, then we actually go back into our spiritual identity and go back to the spiritual world. And that can only happen if we actually follow this process of bhakti, as we were mentioning in the previous slide itself, that if we use everything in Krishna's service, automatically our consciousness become Krishna consciousness. And that way we will every moment we'll be thinking about Lord Krishna, and at the time of death as well, we remember Krishna. So this is how Lord is beautifully explaining this verse or this change of bodies. So what can we learn? That the soul transmigrating to a new body is like getting a new like getting new clothes, which is better than remaining in old body. So even for the person who's moving, it should be considered a good thing. Of course, as we discussed, it is better to actually go to our original spiritual body. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, he starts explaining the difference between the soul and the super soul. Because now that we have already understood that we are not this body, but we are spirit soul. We are not this body, but we are Atma. But then this question comes that, oh, some people talk about Atma, some people talk about Paramatma, which is like some people talk about soul and some people talk about super soul. So are they same or are they different? So Srila Prabhupada starts talking about the difference between the soul and the super soul, Atma and Paramatma. And he quotes Mundaka Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. In that, in these both the Upanishads, Paramatma and Atma, or the soul and super soul, they are compared to two birds sitting on the same branch of a tree. Two birds are sitting on a branch of a tree, and one bird is eating the fruits of the tree, whereas the second bird is just looking at this first bird who's enjoying the fruits. And the bird which is eating the fruits and enjoying the fruits is compared to the soul, where, for example, all of us, we are trying to do all our activities and we want to enjoy the results which we get out of the activity. Whereas the super soul is not like that. Super soul is actually observing. He's just an observer. He's seeing this bird who's doing all these activities. So is there different Paramatma in everyone's heart? So if you can see the first picture on the slide, actually there is one Paramatma. But this Paramatma is actually present in every living entity. It is not only in human body, but it is in the tree body, human body, a worm body, a tiger body, a peacock, elephant, anyone. Like all these living entities which are there, they also have a spirit soul, as well as the super soul is present along with the spirit soul. And there is a huge difference between the soul and the super soul. Soul is tiny. We saw that it is immeasurable. It is very, very tiny. Even if you have to actually see the size of the soul, which is difficult to measure, but still it was mentioned that it is the size of the soul is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair, which is like immeasurable. In a way, it is trying to say that it is immeasurable. But whereas the super soul, so the soul is anu or very small, whereas the super soul is infinite. It is vibhu. It is like that. And as we talked about these two birds, the soul is actually enjoying the fruits, but the super soul is just observing. And the soul is present only in one body. Like each soul is present in one body and only aware what is happening in that body. But whereas the super soul is present in all bodies, and that is how the super soul is aware of everything happening in all bodies. And there are many more differences which will come in future and we'll talk about it. Now in next few verses, again, so we'll read these three verses together, 23, 24, 25. There are lots of different characteristics of soul, further characteristics of the soul are mentioned. So verse number 23. Nainam chindanti shasrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. Who wants to read the translation? Neeraj Prabhu, I think you had raised your hand before. Good to see you back here. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, I
Hare
was not keeping well.
All right, okay.
The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Okay, verse number 24. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shosha evacha nityah sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanatanaha.
Shall I read?
Yeah, go ahead, Neeraj Prabhu.
This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
Verse number 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanu shochitumarhasi. Yeah, please go ahead.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
So lots of different qualities again are mentioned here. So it is said, Nainam chindanti shasrani, Nainam dahati pavaka, na chaina kledayantyapo, no shoshayati marutaha. So nowadays we only have one kind of weapon, which is generally the fire weapon, which are used. Of course, there are, of course, knives and whatever, so which can cut, but mainly the weapons which are used are fire weapons. But whereas in the past, in the Vedic times, the Kshatriyas had various different kinds of weapon. They could use a weapon made up of water, or they can, of course, call upon fire weapons, water weapons, or even wind weapons. They can create a tornado. They can create a lot of rain. They can create a lot of fire. And the opposite Kshatriya will actually counteract with different kinds of weapons. For example, if there is a um, wind weapon which is sent, then the opposite Kshatriya will create a mountain weapon, which will create the blockage for that wind. Or if someone is sending fire weapon, then the opposite Kshatriya will use the water weapon. So Parjanyastra. And that is how they will counteract each other. So here Lord Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna that you may be a wonderful Kshatriya, you have a lot of power, and you can call upon various different weapons. But no matter what kind of weapon you use, you cannot cut the soul, because the soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burnt, nor moistened by water, or not withered by the wind. So no matter what kind of weapon that you use, you will not be able to destroy the soul. And why that is there, which is explained in the next verse, that it is achedyo. So it is the quality of the soul that you cannot break the soul into pieces. That is why a weapon cannot cut into pieces. So it is unbreakable, it is insoluble. It cannot be dissolved into water, and that is why the water weapon cannot destroy it. It cannot be burned, so that is why any fire weapon cannot be doing any harm to it. Or it cannot be dried, so that is why wind weapon can also not do anything. Not only that, it is nitya. Nitya means it is everlasting. Sarvagata, it is present everywhere. This is very important point. Sarvagata means that the soul is present, not the same soul is present everywhere, but it is saying that the souls are present everywhere in the universe. And once we have understood the qualities of the soul, then we can understand that soul can be present everywhere. For example, even on the sun planet, the soul can be there. Because our problem is that we are thinking from this bodily perspective, and we know that this body cannot exist on the sun planet because it is all fire. But if we understand now that the soul cannot be burned by fire, then the soul is able to exist on the sun planet as well. Of course, it has to have body which can last on the sun planet. And this conception that the body can only be made up of all these 5 elements is also not the correct concept, that the human body or the bodies on this earth are made up of this earth, water, fire, air, ether. But there could be bodies of spirit soul, the gross bodies, which can be only made of, say, fire element. And that way, the spirit soul having a gross body can exist on the sun planet as well. So it is sarvagataha. It is thanur. Thanur means it is unchangeable. Then achaloyam. Achalo means it is immovable, and it is eternally the same. It's quite interesting that it is mentioned that it is immovable. So you cannot actually drag the soul from one place to another. So it is mentioned that Yamadutas at the end of our life, if we have done, if we are not getting liberated from here for our welcoming, Yamadutas are there. And it is mentioned that Yamadutas actually drag the soul out of the body because the soul doesn't want to actually leave the body. because the soul is attached to the existing body. So how does that happen? That it is mentioned that it is achaloyam, it is immovable. So how are the Yamadutas able to drag the soul out of the body and take to another body? So it is mentioned that there is Yamadutas has something called Yamapash. And with that Yamapash, or this binding ropes that they have, they bind the subtle body and they drag the subtle body out. And because the soul is so attached, it is not able to remain in the in the gross body. It says that, okay, I'll just at least get attached to this subtle body. And that is how it gets dragged out. So the Yamadutas do not have the power to move this, the spirit soul, or drag it out. But that is why they use this subtle body to drag it out. So let's revise all these qualities that we talked about. So we saw one slide in the past that there were so many different kinds of qualities we talked about of the spirit soul. Then here are some more, and there are more coming. So the soul is unborn, soul is primeval, it is beyond time dimension, it has no byproducts, just like the body has byproducts, but the soul doesn't have any byproducts. It is full of knowledge. It is conscious of own body. Unlike the super soul, which is conscious of all the bodies. Soul is unbreakable. It cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon. It cannot be burned by fire. It is insoluble. And it cannot be withered or dried by the wind. Some more qualities. The soul is present everywhere. It is unchangeable, immovable, invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and amazing. Amazing, that part is coming a little bit later, but I have just covered everything here. So these are so many different qualities of the spirit soul. Yes, you have some questions, Sudharma Mataji? You're on mute.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, can you explain again the two qualities difference, which is like Achala, which is immovable, and Sarvagata, which is all pervading? In the sense, like as a subtle body, the soul moves to different places as well, like Loka as well, right? Like Loka and other things, as subtle body. But it says immovable. So how is it not contradicting?
No, it is not. Sarvagata means it can exist anywhere and it is present everywhere. And immovable means you will not be able to force the soul to move from one place to another, but the soul can move itself.
Okay.
It is not that immovable means the soul cannot move from one place to another. It is that no one can forcibly move the soul from one place to another. No one has this, like a material nature doesn't have this power to move the soul from one place to another. But if the soul so desires, it can move from one place to another. Is that clear?
Okay.
Paminder Prabhuji?
So, Prabhuji, in a summary, even though soul or souls live within the material world, there cannot be any interaction between material world and the soul. Pretty much like anything that's material, because fire is material, like all these things that are mentioned in here are all material in nature. So pretty much because the soul can't have any interaction with any of those material elements, that means none of those material elements, like the force of material world to push, to move, or maybe like the other stuff. So laws of physics pretty much will not be applicable to, because they are part of them.
To the spirit soul, yeah. But actually there is this false ego is there we talked about, right? So because we get attached to this material world, that is why we get controlled by the material things. So I don't remember whether I gave this example before in these classes. Say, for example, we get attached to this small piece of device which everyone carries everywhere, right? And when we are carrying this device, actually we are not this device. But when something happens, like it falls from here and the glass is broken, then when the glass of the mobile phone is broken, it is like your heart is broken. At least for some time, you will feel that, oh, my heart is broken. And you will be so sad and everything. Why? Actually, this has nothing to do with you. So nothing has changed in your, even the physical body, even though we are not this body. Even when this mobile phone is getting damaged, nothing is happening to your physical body. Still you are unhappy and you are sad. Why? Because we're actually creating that attachment, and it becomes our extended body because of that. And that is why when it is breaking, our heart is also breaking along with it. So that is how, even though this material nature doesn't have any control as such, or it is inferior, and Lord Krishna says that later on in the Bhagavad Gita, that the spirit soul is superior to the material nature, and material nature is inferior to the spirit soul. But still, because of this attachment that we create, because of that, it is able to control us. And that is where we remain bound in this material world. So, but once when we are in our liberated situation, where there's no material attachments, and we only have our spiritual attachments, then the material nature won't be able to control us, and we will go into this wonderful qualities we'll be able to realize. Currently, we are, even though the spirit soul has these qualities, it is currently covered by this material things and the gross and subtle body. And that is why we feel this pain and suffering and happiness, distress, everything, all the dualities in this world. Melissa Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, not sure if I'm going to formulate it well. So the attachment to the material in the subtle body, that keeps us within the material planets.
Mhm.
Can you get to any higher planets? Like, is there a possible way to be in your subtle body and then to move up from other material planets?
Yeah,
Direct-
good question. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada has written a small book. It's a very small book. And he has titled this book as Easy Journey to Other Planets. Easy Journey to Other Planets. And Srila Prabhupada explains how we can actually move from one planet to another. And yes, it is possible to move from the lower planets to the higher planetary systems. At the same time, it is possible that depending on our activity and how we have developed or regressed on our consciousness, we can go to the lower planetary systems as well. So all these planets which are explained in the Vedic scriptures, they are based on the consciousness level. So when we call these lower planets or higher planets or the middle planetary systems, they are based on the level of consciousness of the people residing there. So when we call it higher planets, it means the people who are having higher consciousness. So if in this lifetime we developed higher consciousness than what we have here, and we haven't done the spiritual activities and to remove all our karmic bondages, then we remain in this material world. But because of the higher consciousness, we can move to the higher planetary system. Is that making sense?
Yeah, yes, but I just wanted to know, do you have to be completely free? Like, you have to completely have detached from your material and subtle to get to Vaikuntha, for example? Vaikuntha planet?
Yes. So we have to be completely purified of our material desires to go back to the spiritual world.
Mhm.
But if we still have some material desires and we have developed higher consciousness, then we still remain in the material world, but we actually move to the higher planets because our consciousness has become higher as compared to what we had before. So we can actually, we can come back to earthly planetary system where we are having higher consciousness in the human life, or we can even go to the higher planets where we can become a devata or a demigod, and that is how we can progress. It is a slow progression. The best is to actually get, instead of taking the staircase, Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada is actually telling us to take the lift, and instead of going to one floor and then I'm comfortable here, let me be here. Instead of that, he's saying that, okay, go from directly from where you are, whatever consciousness level you are, follow this process of bhakti yoga and go directly to the higher, to the highest system, which is the spiritual world. And it is possible to do it in one single lifetime if you follow the instructions which are given by Lord Shri Krishna and his devotees. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next verse. Verse number 20. 25 is done, so 26. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुमर्हसि. Who wants to read the translation? Yes, Prasad Prabhu, please go ahead.
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm.
So it is interesting now. So till now, Lord Shri Krishna has been saying that you are the spirit soul and you are eternal and you are not this body. But now here it starts, if, however, if, like even if you think that you are not this spirit soul, the reality is you are the spirit soul, you are not this body. But even if someone is arguing that, no, I don't believe in the spirit soul or whatever, I'm thinking that I am this body only. So Lord Shri Krishna is saying, if, however, you are thinking that the soul will always be born and die forever, like at the time of death, the soul is also gone, you still have no reason to lament. How? Because if there is no spirit soul, then you are just a body, and the body is just the bag of chemicals. So who worries about if the bag of chemicals is gone? And the other thing is, even if like if there is no spirit soul, then there is no possibility of karma getting carried over from one life to another. So why you are worrying about the sinful reactions that you had talked about earlier? So in this verses now, from verse number 25 onwards, you will see that most of these verses, they are ending with na shochitu marhasi, that do not lament, do not lament, do not lament, because now he is actually finalizing his Lord Shri Krishna is finalizing his argument against this compassion argument that Arjuna has given. Arjuna was very compassionate and he was thinking that all of these are my relatives, friends, family members, and I have to kill them. So he had this compassion in his heart. So Lord Krishna is now trying to explain. He has explained that all of them are spirit souls. They are not this body. Body is temporary. Spirit is, as the soul is eternal. And no matter how much you want to protect the body cannot be protected. And no matter how you want to kill the soul, you cannot kill the soul. Right? So in that case, why you are actually trying to give up your duty to protect which is temporary? At least you do your duty and do your duty of protecting the dharma, which is what you are supposed to do. And while doing your duty, whatever inconveniences you have to actually go through, you have to tolerate, and you don't have to lament for it. So this is the theme that he is actually explaining. So from this verse number 25 to 30, he is repeatedly saying that do not lament, do not lament. And the logic is given, which I have just explained, that if you say, suppose, think that the soul exists, if you know that the soul exists, and if you know that the soul exists, then you know that the soul is eternal, body is temporary. So there is no need to lament, because there is no need to lament for the body which is already temporary, and anyway it is going to go, and you cannot do anything to the soul. So there is no need to lament for the soul or the body. And then you should do your duty and fight. But if you think, as if in this verse it is saying athachainam, if however you are thinking that the soul does not exist, then that means the body is just the bag of chemicals. So there is no need to lament for the bag of chemicals. And also there is no sinful reaction that is going to come out of destroying this body, which is the bag of chemicals. So there is no reason why you should not be fighting. So you should just do your duty and continue fighting. So here, Lord Krishna is using the logic to argue with Arjuna. So he has already given him the knowledge, but even if someone wants to just unnecessarily use some logic, he's just giving the logic saying that, okay, even if you're thinking like this, still you should not give up your duty and you should continue fighting. Okay, let us look at verse number 27. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मात् परिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. Yes, Vikas.
One, one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So he's just again emphasizing on this point that whoever has taken birth is going to die. That is why we have this saying, isn't it? Where we say that it is as sure as death. So nothing is sure in this world, but death is definitely sure. So there was once one reporter was asking Srila Prabhupada that why do you think that the death rate is higher in India as compared to the Western world? And he said, no. Srila Prabhupada said that actually I travel all around the world and the rate of death is everywhere it is same. It is 100%. Everyone who's born is going to die. Whether you are born in New Zealand, America, UK or India, everywhere they are going to die. It is 100%. No one has existed forever. Everyone has to die. And everyone who has died, they are going to take birth again. Now, this birth can be a material birth or they can go back to their spiritual birth. So, spiritual appearance. But here it is actually mentioning this infinite cycle that we are trapped in this material world. We are born, then we go through this birth, old age, death, and disease. And then at that end of life, again, we actually get into another body, again, go into that cycle. So it is a continuous cycle which is going on. So therefore, we should just continue doing your duty because it is just going in cycles. So why you still stop doing your duty? Then he's explaining further in verse number 28. The same logic he's continuing. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Yes, Mahendra Prabhu, please go ahead. And then the next one, Vibhor Prabhu, you.
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation? Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, what Lord Krishna is saying that before the person is born, it is in an unmanifested stage, and then it manifests. We get this body, and then we live for some time. So there is a period where it is manifested for some time. And then again, after death, it will be unmanifested for some time. But again, we will take another birth and we will be manifested. So we will be just taking this birth and death, then again another birth, again another death. So who are you lamenting for? So this person who you are saying that is your grandfather or your friend or a relative or whatever, in the previous birth, your previous birth and their previous birth, you may not be even related. You may not be even close by. They may be completely different family in different country, and you are in different family, different country. So you are unrelated as such. So you are just going through, just like when we travel in a train or a flight or a bus. Sometimes some people come together for that journey, and we talk very nicely to each other. We even maybe if we have some food, we may share with each other, and we'll talk about so many things. But when the station comes, each passenger will just get down without worrying about anything. They will just move on. And then when you go to another train, we will meet another different passengers. And then we'll just continue that journey for some time. Again, we'll get down. So this situation is continuing. So we don't have to worry too much about such changes. Now the final two verses about this this section where Lord Krishna is talking about the spirit, soul, and the body, and then he changes the gear from 31 verse. So we'll just cover these two verses for today, and then we'll stop. Verse number 29. Ashcharyavat pashyati kaschidенम आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवत् चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येन वेद न चैव कश्चित्. Yes, Vibhav Prabhu, please go ahead.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some fear of him as amazing, while others,
Hear
even after, sorry,
Hear of
Yeah.
him.
hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Hare Krishna.
So this verse is an amazing verse. It's Ashcharyavat, Ashcharyavat, Ashcharyavat. Many times it is mentioned that it is so amazing. So sometimes we are hearing, we did not know about anything about the spirit soul. So in the beginning, when we hear about the spirit soul, we think, is there really something like spirit soul? So even after hearing about it, we cannot sometimes understand it. But over a period of time, if we remain in the association, we hear repeatedly, and we start practicing something, we'll start realizing about the spirit soul. So there is that the next level. We do not understand, then we hear, and we think that, wow, the soul is amazing. This body is nothing. And soul has so many different wonderful qualities, and which are opposite to the body. The body is temporary. I do not want this temporary body. I want the eternal spirit soul. So all of these hearing, and we think about the soul as amazing. And then over a period of time, we can start describing the soul as amazing. And over a period of time, we may even be able to realize the spirit soul, and we will understand the super soul. And when we go to the spiritual world, we can also look at the soul as amazing. So all of these things will happen over a period of time. And in the last verse, Lord Krishna is now summarizing the entire section that he talked about. Dehi nityam avedhyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhasi. Who wants to read? Yes, Swaminder Prabhuji.
O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Now, this purport that we have is also the summary of that entire section, and how Lord Krishna has answered this doubt of compassion, or the reason that Arjuna has given as compassion. So let us read the purport, which is a very small purport. Who wants to read? Someone who hasn't read it yet.
Prabhuji, I had one question with the last one, if that's all right.
Last one that we saw?
The last verse that we...
The Ashcharyavat verse. Okay,
Yeah.
let us look at that, and then we can go to the purport.
Prabhuji, there were three things mentioned: see, hear, and describe. So hear and describe, I understand, like you hear from someone. It has been described in scriptures as well, someone running scriptures. But where does this see component came for the soul?
So as we saw earlier, that actually soul is invisible, right? So soul cannot be actually seen by this material eyes, but it is referring to our pure state, where we are able to see the soul and super soul in everyone's body through our knowledge. So with this material eyes, we will not be able to see the soul. But with a jnana chakshu, or the eyes of knowledge, we will be able to see the soul in everyone. And when we go further in the in Bhagavad Gita, it is explained how a pandita is able to see the spirit soul everywhere in the body, and also able to see the super soul everywhere in each body. And this is how the person who's full in knowledge is able to see the soul. It is not seeing with the material eyes, but through the eyes of knowledge. Is that okay? Okay. Yes, Shanti Mataji, please go ahead and read the purport of verse number 30.
The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, nor that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity, resulting from the interactions of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mother. So isn't this very wonderfully summarized? Srila Prabhupada is saying that the soul is eternal, body is temporary, and we are different from the body. Because the soul is eternal, you cannot kill it. The body is temporary, you cannot preserve it. But at the same time, when you are using violence, you cannot just do it capriciously. It has to be sanctioned, and everything has its utility. And as a matter of duty for protecting the dharma, if you're supposed to do this duty, and at that time somehow or the other you have to kill someone, then you should not be actually saying that I want to be non-violent. It has its utility, and you have to utilize it. So that is how Srila Prabhupada has summarized that complete section. And verse 31 onwards, now Lord Shri Krishna talks about another reason that Arjuna has given, which is the enjoyment, loss of enjoyment. So he will explain from verse number 31 to 37 how you can enjoy by doing your duty instead of not doing. So we will stop here, but let us look at if there are any questions or comments, and then someone can summarize what we have learned. Are there any questions or comments on today's session?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, please go ahead.
Prabhu, there is one line is verse 26. If at the end of the paragraph, if there were no rebirth for the soul, it means the soul never die, but soul कहते 7 जन्म में एक ही सोल रहती है.
Yeah, the soul is eternal. So when we are moving from one body to another, the soul is not dying. Soul is just continuing from one body to another. So there is no rebirth for soul. So only the body is getting rebirth.
Always.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Mahendra Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to understand a little bit more about the soul and super soul. You gave this example. Prabhupada gave example of those two birds on a tree. So I wasn't able to, even after listening to you, I was not able to understand how those two birds are representing, that particular verse and how is it related. Can you please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. So it is an analogy. So analogy is like in the region of the heart, there are two persons which are there. One is the spirit soul, and then there is super soul. And these two are compared to these two birds sitting on a tree on one branch. Now the soul is interested and it is attached to this material desires and material enjoyment. That is why the soul is compared to this bird which is eating fruits on the tree. So eating fruits is like you do your activity, and whatever result comes, you want to enjoy that for your own self. So that is eating the fruits, enjoying the fruits of the activity. So that is how the bird is actually eating the fruits, and it is compared to the spirit soul. But whereas the super soul is detached, and the super soul is only observing the bird who's doing all these activities. So he is an observer, he's a permitter, and it comes in further verses. What is the different role of super soul? But super soul is that God is actually not making anyone do activities. So those activities are done by the individual spirit soul, but the super soul is watching everything, and that is how we are able to get the reactions, whether they are good or bad, they are coming because the super soul is watching everything. So that is how in each body we have this soul and super soul, and they are compared to these two birds. Is that
Okay, and
making
so
sense, or you have a
a little
different?
bit confused. Yeah, so when you say a soul, so here again, that soul is the real soul. It doesn't include the subtle body. It's
Oh
just
yes,
the soul, right?
the spirit soul, yeah.
Okay, cool.
The
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
super
Krishna.
soul is nothing but the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna, is manifested in different bodies as super soul, and the same the Supreme Lord also appears from the spiritual world in his own body as Lord Shri Krishna. And the same Supreme Lord, from his body, this light is coming, and that light is called Brahman or Brahma Jyoti. So they are not different. So Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman all are same. Yes, Prasad Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, my question is like in verse 2.25, why Srila Prabhupada mentioned like inconceivable? Is it because of the reasons invisible and unchangeable and other reasons he mentioned like inconceivable, or any other particular reason mentioned there?
Good question. So it is said, avyaktoyam achintyoyam. So we have the gross body and we have subtle body. So can we understand the soul using the gross body? So he said, not possible. So it is avyakta, it is invisible. So using your gross body, using your eyes, you cannot understand the soul. So it is avyakta, you cannot see it, is invisible. Okay, you have subtle body. Subtle body has mind, intelligence, and ego. So can you use your mind to understand the spirit soul? So it is said, Lord Krishna is saying, not possible. It is inconceivable. So using your mind as well, you cannot conceive it, or using your eyes as well, you cannot see it. So using your gross and subtle body, if you try to understand it, it will not be understood. But only if you get the spiritual knowledge, not even the material knowledge, you can understand it. If only if you get the spiritual knowledge, then you will be able to understand it slowly. And that is why it was that Ashcharyavat verse where there were some stages which were mentioned, that some people do not understand it, some people try to understand it by hearing little bit, then after understanding they may describe it, and when they go further, they become very pure. At that time they are able to see the soul and super soul in every living entity.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. All right. Who wants to summarize what we have seen today? Just quick summary, and then we can close.
I can summarize, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare
So
Krishna.
some key points that I took away are difference between Kshatriya and terrorist. So basically, Kshatriyas are protecting the society, the community, whereas terrorists are destroying them. And there were many other points that you said. One point that I felt was Kshatriyas are more on the righteousness, they are dharmic, whereas terrorists they don't understand the difference between right and wrong. Then, of course, you talked about soul and super soul. Again, I mean, I have a similar question to Mahendra Prabhuji. When you say bird eating the fruits is Atma, for me, I feel that Atma, I mean, you did explain a lot of characteristics of Atma, but isn't the bird equivalent to the body? Because the fruits of our results, the Atma won't be looking for the fruits, the results, right? It is the body that is getting attached and tempted towards the results. So again, I have a little bit of confusion there, but I'll
Okay,
keep it for
slowly
future.
it
Yeah.
clarified.
I'll keep it for future. Yeah. And then you gave a lot of good examples and characteristics of soul and super soul. And we need Jnana Chakshu to see the soul. So these were some key points that I got through today's session. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Very good. And we saw lots of characteristics of the spirit soul. At the same time, we saw some characteristics of the material body as well. And we also saw how Lord Shri Krishna has explained to Arjuna that he should continue to do his duty and not give up his duty just for protecting, which he won't be able to protect anyway, and the spirit soul he will not be able to kill anyway. So that is how various different viewpoints Lord Krishna has tried to explain to Arjuna that he should continue to do his duty and he should not give up the duty. Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, then we will stop here. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
Srila
just one quick
Prabhupada
question.
ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.